What is going on, Clippers fans of your fifth seed in the Western Conference playoffs? Welcome to Season 3, Episode 62 of Clips and Dip. I am Chuck Mockler with Adam Osland and William Updike. If you're new to the show, welcome. We talk about the Clippers pretty much exclusively. Sometimes we talk about the movie 65 and how that's good, and sometimes we talk about other things, but welcome. If you're listening to this on audio and you'd like to see our faces so you can see who's saying these mean things about your team if you're a Nuggets fan, or these nice things about your team if you're a Clippers fan, you can find us at youtube.com/@ClippersPodcast. We're going to talk about what the heck happened in Golden State. We're going to give you a large preview of the Clippers versus Nuggets series. But before we get into all of that, fellas, how are we feeling after a roller coaster of a weekend that thankfully ended with the Clippers as the 5 seed? Adam, we'll start with you because you haven't really said anything about the Clippers season lately. You've been kind of dormant with your content.
Underground like a Ninja Turtle. I thought that game yesterday put a real exclamation point on what was a very successful and one of the more memorable Clippers seasons for all the right reasons. I think everybody's going to look back on this season fondly, just like the 2018-2019 season. It's one of those years where, and just to have that memory of how the last game was played with stakes, with it being that exceptional of a game, credit to Golden State too. That's an all-timer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a more exciting final regular season game. Will, how are you doing as we wake up officially the 5th seed?
I'm doing great. And, I think that it's tough to judge what success is in the NBA. And I think a lot of people, media included, like there's really only one sort of definition or end to that. But I think, regardless of what happens, like this regular season was an absolute success. We smashed every win projection.
What the hell, Vegas?
We somehow managed to fight our way into the top 5, even though seeding doesn't matter. But it's just, I don't know, man. It's been a long time. I'm glad that you brought up that 18-19 season because this has got to be like one of the most top to bottom, like likable rosters that I've gotten to enjoy as a Clippers fan. Like the vibes are incredible. And, we had some peaks and valleys, of course, in 2 and 3. I thought that year where Kawhi ended up going down, it was 2021.
Which one was that?
Or 21-22. I don't know. Years kind of blend together, but like that one, the first year with Nick Batum, that one was really locked in, and I really liked what was going on there. But this just felt really special. Just felt really different, and this was kind of the perfect way. I can't believe this team went out on the win streak that they did, and even as the ups and downs that we've had following them, what this team looked like coming out of the All-Star break versus how they ended this regular season is just really incredible. So great stuff. Just all around great stuff.
Yeah, hell yeah. I like this. Is Joseph Raya Ward sent me this stat this morning. He said for the broadcast. So this was a directive from Joseph Raya Ward to get this stat to the people.
Is it about Russ?
Funnily enough, it is not about Russ. He said, after blowing the Suns game on March 4th, which is, Will, what you were just talking about, coming out of the All-Star break, not looking good. The Clips go 18-3, first in offensive rating, fourth in defensive rating, first in net. This end to the season is the best momentum. It's the best vibes. Adam, you mentioned 18-19. We talked about this a little bit on Clippers Talk, but this is the 18-19 feeling with and no disrespect to the guys who are on the 18-19 team, a lot better roster than that 18-19 team with 2 guys playing. I mean, we're going to talk about the series in the next segment, but we talked about, like which team has the best player on the court, who's the best player between 2 teams. That's who's going to win. It feels like a toss-up right now between Jokic and Kawhi. We'll get into that later, but I'm loving the 18-19 vibe comp, but the ceiling is higher than that team, which makes everyone that much more excited for this postseason.
Yeah, they can take this much further. That team got all the praise in the world, rightfully so, for taking the best team ever to 6 games in the first round series.
Oh yeah.
They
taking them both at home too. like on Golden State's home court, which I think is the other wildest thing about that. They could not manage to get a win at Staples, but they won in like the craziest environment.
The biggest comeback in the history of the playoffs, down 31 in game 2. That's the lasting memory above all with that squad. Pat Bev and Montrezl Harrell screaming as they're walking off the court. Like, that team was awesome. This team, we'll see ultimately how it ends, but this regular season was special.
Yeah, before we get into kind of favorite moments and regular season awards real quick, I had this question. Who was your player of the game from the Warriors game? Because there's a lot of ways you could look at it. There was obviously 3 guys who did 95% of the offense and stuff like that. But there was some spirited just back and forth because a lot of guys did exactly what they were supposed to do really well. It's hard to not think James Harden for his overtime performance. But
yeah, I don't want to get the Pingalore accusations, but for me, it was James Harden. Like it's just clear, it's just clear, you know, how essential he is, and you know, we've talked about this on here, but it's like forever going to be the sliding doors moment for me, where if we had given up that same haul for James Harden instead of Paul George, I think that things would have looked a lot different. And
don't torture yourself, man. We're the 5th seed. We don't got.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, you know, he is the system or the fulcrum that kind of makes everything work about it. That's nothing against Kawhi. That's, you know, I'm not knocking Kawhi as being like the best player on the team, but he is huge to like how everything sort of orbits. And you know, looking at Zoo's season, it's damn near impossible for a season like that to happen without James Harden there as well. So, you know, if you have Zoo as a key contributor in a playoff game, like how long ago, it's not even that long ago, we were like, when is Zoo going to even be able to close games? Like, right. Not that we doubted his ability, but like that was where he was in the rotation. That was how he was viewed by, you know, both the coaching staff and his peers. And I don't think that happens without Harden. So I guess we are talking about one game, but it's hard for me to not think about the context of all of that because Zoo was one of the most important players in that game. So I do think it's relevant.
Yeah, that was like a joy spiral as the opposite of a doom spiral. That was cool to see. Yeah, I'm taking Harden too. Adam, you're taking Harden.
He scored 12 of 13 points in overtime.
He scored their only field goal in overtime.
Who was the loser of the game for the Clippers?
Probably Bogey. Probably.
That's a Bogey hater.
I'm not a Bogey hater, but okay. Well, I mean, Amir Coffey was.
Yeah, it's probably Bogey or Simmons or Coffey.
Shout out Chris Dunn though, who hit all 4 of his shots in a game where Draymond Green also hit 3s. Which, thank God, we had our own version of that counter there, but. Chris Dunn was phenomenal in that game and gave me more confidence about what he's going to do in the playoffs outside of just shooting. Okay. Favorite moment from the regular season. Adam, you go first.
Ooh.
It could be anything. It could have been a hot dog game.
I mean, outside of them winning that game that just happened?
Like, no, it could be anything. That's part of the regular season.
I mean, obviously, the easy answer is the game that just happened. That's the best moment. But
all right, going with the easy answer.
I'll try to dig deeper here. I don't know. The Cleveland game to me.
God damn it! That's what I was gonna say.
The Kawhi fadeaway, spinning fadeaway on Evan Mobley might have been my favorite moment of the season right there. And Bogey going 8 for 8 in that game.
I lost my bet because I thought he was going to go 0 for 8. I said, "There's no way he misses." All right, Will, do you need more time to think of one before you do yours? Since Adam,
it's the Cavs one.
The Cavs one was a good game.
It's the Cavs one. I mean, we went to that one as fans, so it was like extra.
Oh, yeah.
It was like extra kind of special, but it was just you know, they had turned a corner and were clearly looking better. There were still questions about Kawhi. There were still questions about how real it was. I kind of was having some flashbacks to like the 21-6 stretch where they looked really, really good last year for that period of time, and then kind of fell off and a little like limped into the playoffs, obviously. So yeah, it's got to be that one for me.
I think I'm going completely fair. My family was here for that game, and they were like, "Wow, the Clippers are an offensive juggernaut." And at the time, I was like, "I don't know," but you just saw the best game of the regular season to that point. I think I'm going with Kawhi's return to to the team, basically, from being off, because there was a lot of weird energy. Not weird. We all had no idea what it was going to look like. It was the long run up. We'd heard him talking about, I want to get out there, all that good stuff. He played, and how excited everyone was, because I think the first or second thing he did was get a deflection or something, a good defensive play. And it felt just like, oh shit. Okay. Like, maybe we did do this right. Maybe we played everything right, like we were supposed to. That was probably mine. Other than
the first Kawhi back-to-back.
No, that wasn't my favorite moment of the season. It was good and cool, but I wasn't like, yeah.
I'll give an honorable mention. The opening weekend win in Denver, where Norm, I think, dropped 22 in the fourth quarter, and Mike Malone afterwards said he kicked our ass.
Yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot of good moments. Zoo's triple-double is absolutely insane. That to happen at home.
And I know the low point, too. The worst point of the season.
The first game?
No.
Any Phoenix game, pick one.
It was the lot for me. It was still the loss of the Trailblazers at home.
That
one.
They ended up winning like 36 games though.
That one really stung.
You hate Portland. I think that's something we learned.
They sting. I don't even think Jeremy Grant played that game. They had no business losing that game at home.
You're not wrong about that. We're going to do a whole episode in the offseason of low points. So we'll save our low points for that. Regular season awards. Will, who was your most valuable player for the Clippers this season?
James Harden.
Fair. Adam, some of these are pretty universal.
Honorable mention, though, Norm Powell, because he really, especially before Kawhi was back in the lineup, he really carried a lot for this team. Like that, we don't have the success. We don't sniff 50 wins if Kawhi is still out to start the season and Norm
isn't lighting his
isn't having an absolute career year offensively. So a huge shout out to Norm.
These awards are starting to feel like the player of the game awards. Adam, who is your MVP of the season? And maybe honorable mention. Let's throw one in there.
It's James Harden, but it's close between him and Ivica Zubac because of how good Zoo's been on the defensive end. I give the edge to James because I think it's harder to be competent on offense. That's easier for things to just totally fall apart.
There's not a lot of guys who have done what James Harden has done in his career.
Yeah, like his system holding things together, even when people are saying, well, what do you mean? They're 22nd in offense. Well, if you looked at on-off numbers when James was actually on the floor, they were basically like a middle-of-the-pack offense at worst when he was on the floor. So he did his part. He was the main reason. While it's close, Norm has an argument too, Ivica Zubac, but those guys are both much more dependent on James than James is of them.
Great.
And his defense at times this season, there were multiple games. Guys, in the fourth quarter and the second half of that game last night, he locked up Jimmy Butler on a possession. He has had some really good defensive moments. I put it like this. If you're the third best defense on the season, like they were, and James Harden's such a bad defender, how does that work?
Norm is a bad defense. Yeah, how are we able to have such a good...
It's almost like it's easier to cover up for those things, just like with Luka Doncic and Kyrie going into the playoffs last year. And the last month and a half, Dallas had the best defense in the league. It's like everybody's saying, well, they're food on defense. Well, you can still be a good enough defense, even with guys that individually aren't great. Offensively, though, there's just more scheme. There's more moving parts, and James was the glue to hold together an offense to be just good enough to be 4 games above 500 before Kawhi played a game.
Yeah. I think the other part with Harden too,
some of that more complicated offense went out the window towards the end of last night's game.
We didn't need it. The other thing with Harden too is Harden came in before the season started because Kawhi was going to be out. Harden was default the MVP. Just from the off-court stuff, on court, but he was the young guys at Rico Hines, the ASU workout, Harden came in and set, not to use a very LA term, he set an intention for this season very early with his leadership, and it carried over. And Zubac's honorable mention from my part too, just an incredible leap from him. But as to you guys both pointed out, like a lot of that's because of Harden, and everyone else, other than really Kawhi, in terms of the starters, is as dependent on Harden or a point guard as anyone's ever been. Most improved player, Adam, will go to you, because this one I think has a couple interesting options. Also, put your thoughts at Clippers Pod or at Clippers Podcast on YouTube.
I get irked when I think about Ivica Zubac being called most improved player, because I think he could have been doing this for years. I don't think he could do this without Harden or a Harden-esque point guard, if I'm being honest. The scoring part. Well, what he's able to do in the post with both hands, the hook shots, like Ivica Zubac can get into a bag. I do think he can ISO, and he has shown that off plenty this year. This is not just a rim runner that is running high pick and roll and catching lobs. He had the most hook shots in like the last 40 years in an NBA season. He is extremely skilled. He didn't develop it all last summer all of a sudden. He's been like this. He has said as much. He said he has more in his bag that he's had for a long time. He's not even showing off yet. While I think, yes, he's dependent on getting the basketball because he can't bring it up the floor.
They don't let him bring it up the floor.
I think to this point, well, after what happened with Mason Plumlee, they're like, no, we can't let centers do this stuff. I think Ivica Zubac, if he got the same amount of touches last year or in past years, he could be right where he is right now. I don't think this is some late bloomer that all of a sudden figured it out.
Yeah.
I think this is a guy who had a skill set, and the only way to get better in certain ways, like passing out of double teams, is if you actually get the reps. If you actually have the ball in your hands to develop that. He's gotten that, and he has shown growth in that area exponentially, not because I think like he had an off season to do so. It's just you have to get in-game reps, and he finally got it. But if he got those in-game reps last year when he was 26 and 27, I think he could have been doing the exact same stuff. But
that's fair.
I get it. A lot of people are going to look at him as most improved player, but he's been a top 5 rim protector in the league since like 2019. Like I remember looking at those numbers then. Defensive field goal percentage within 6 feet of the rim. He was right there with Rudy Gobert. I think it's more to do with opportunity with him. I'm going to go with, I don't know. I'll say Norm, because the first half of the season, I think he did show a lot more on-ball juice than I think people realized he had. Not that he was running pick and roll or anything like that, but he could create a little bit more for himself than I think people realized, including myself. Like he could. It wasn't just all catch and shoot stuff. It wasn't just all quick DHO stuff. He could create a little bit more than people gave him credit for. And defensively, he was better. He hasn't been as good since post All-Star break,
but he was better.
Start of the year, he was better on that end defensively than, and all the talking points were going into the season. He's got to get back to playing like he was in Toronto. And I think for the most part, he did. Since he came back from the multiple injuries post All-Star break, he hasn't been very good defensively. He needs to get back to where he was, but I'll go Norm, I guess.
Yeah. Will, you going Norm, Sue? Ken.
To me, there's one answer and one answer only. Kawhi Leonard. Came back from injury.
Interesting.
Tell me how he looked at the beginning of this season. Tell me how he looked at the beginning of this season.
He did.
Would you say that was the guy? Would you say that's the guy that we're looking at right now? Look, I joke, but seriously, I mean, this was kind of unprecedented. That, like, with how long the situation had gone on, I mean, I think it was fair to have some concerns. And I think the way that they handled that, I give a lot of kudos to his team and the medical staff, because like the way that they brought him back seems to have so far have been the best way they've done it. And that's even taking into account last year where he came back from injury, played 65 games, looked incredible then. But just the way that he just if you hear the conversation about Kawhi right now, I mean, it was, 6 months ago, people were like, maybe this guy should retire, in not this sphere, but the larger national media. And now, after a big game like this, he's getting comped again to the player that he was in 2019, the player that he was with the Spurs. Like it's unreal the level that he's still at. And even me, a huge Kawhi optimist, that. At the beginning of this season, I was not ready to say that this is still a top 5, top 3 guy in this league. I was not ready to say that. And now I can pretty comfortably say that.
You have eaten those words you did not say.
Exactly. Well, yes. I had eaten the previous and then kind of threw him up. And then
I like the Kawhi Leonard pick. My heart says Zoo, because I love seeing it. I love seeing how the respect he's getting.
Zoo's a fair answer.
Improvement too.
I'm gonna play Adam's monologue when Zoo doesn't win. When Zoo doesn't win any major NBA award, they'll be like, "Well, listen to this guy. He covers the team for 5 hours a day, and he's saying he's not most improved. Why would we do it?"
I think it's disrespectful. I think it's disrespectful to think this guy all of a sudden turned into a completely different player this year. He has been good for a long time. We've seen all the flashes, the 30-30 almost.
I'm on your side.
Dude, and I see centers knock down threes in empty courts. That doesn't mean would they not be improved as shooters if they had more touches in game? It's still an improvement.
I get it's the most obvious answer. I just think it was always there.
I got 2 options that are not obvious that I was too afraid to really say. Bogey, because the beginning of his season was not good, and he had his worst shit. It was really not.
I like that a lot. I like that one a lot.
Also, thank you, Terrence Mann, by the way. Wonderful to have him on the team. Shame that he's no longer with the team, but it did work out. I think for both sides, really. I was gonna say Bogey or Chris Dunn, because Chris Dunn was on a really bad team last year and was contributing for the most part, but now he helped be a pretty big part of one of the best defenses in the league and is taking twice as many threes as he's ever taken per game. 3, it's not that many, but he hit him at like a 34% clip or something like that. Yes, it was skewed by the last 10 games a little bit, but I appreciate the improvement that he's had this year. Also, with being a safety valve for James Harden, because when he was first kind of trying to be that other ball handler, we were all a little worried as to why Ben Simmons was now the second best ball handler on the team already. I think Chris Dunn's gotten better with some of those responsibilities. I've appreciated his improvement on this team.
I like the Bogey pick a lot. I think that's a great one.
It made it easy because he had such a shit start.
Chris Dunn is a situation where isn't that kind of the same skill set that he's had though?
Yeah, he's just gotten better.
He's just playing more. I mean, and he will get a chance to do it in the playoffs.
Because it's like the Amir thing too, right? We've seen Amir be good in flashes, but then when Amir gets extended time, it starts to taper off a little bit, that kind of thing. All right, we got 2 more. Defensive Player of the Year for the Clippers. Is it offensive to give it to Ivica Zubac? Adam, your thoughts?
No, that's accurate. If he's up for Defensive Player of the Year in the entire league, he should probably win Defensive Player of the Year on the Clippers alone.
Hey, you would think. Some people might say Chris Dunn. Some people are mad we traded KPJ.
Oh, God. I heard that.
I got into an argument with him. I had to stop. I was like, why are you worried about this?
I was listening to that earlier today at the gym. Yeah, the episode you did last night.
It's like, why are you? He's like, I still wish we had KPJ, though, man. Why? Like the third best.
It's nuts. I've seen some of that around, too.
Damn, hell of a season. We won 50 games, but ooh, do I wish KPJ was still on this ring. Go outside. All right, so Zoo, Will, are you picking Zoo too?
Yeah,
it's hard to not pick Zoo.
Chris Dunn is great. Is a great honorable mention, but Zoo is the anchor.
He's the guy. He's the guy. 6th man of the year for the Clippers.
I guess Bogey.
Bit of a weird one. You could choose. Yeah, Bogey's good.
It's KPJ. They shouldn't have got rid of him. He's their 6th man.
In fact, yeah. I can't really answer this one.
No, Bogey has been shooting fucking 50% from three for his last 24 games.
Been phenomenal. It's probably Bogey. I don't know who else it would be. It's Bogdan.
Batum.
In terms of importance, I think Batum is close to that because this roster without Batum in a playoff sense.
He's also been here.
I mean, we got some looks at that last night.
I could see Batum. He's been here longer.
Yeah, but I mean, Bogey's been huge for this.
But Batum's been shooting fucking 55% from three too.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about
Bogey
led
them with 3-point percentage this year, I think.
I think one guy's shooting 100%, but that's only because he made one. What the hell was I just gonna say?
Still 100%.
Still made it. The other thing with Bogey too, that's incredibly valuable, that Ty Lue talked about even being surprised by, was his ability to do stuff other than score. He can run the pick and roll. He can kind of put the ball on the floor. He can do that stuff, which again kind of helps that release valve situation for James Harden. So, yeah, I think it's probably Bogey.
But Batum's an infinitely better defender.
I mean, you're an infinitely better defender too, but he wasn't brought here to defend.
Like this whole why can't Bogey guard Jimmy Butler? Why can't Bogey guard LeBron? Like this whole conversation of he's getting picked on is like, yeah, he can't guard those guys.
I thought he was the LeBron stopper. I thought we traded for the one guy who was going to stop LeBron and Giannis.
I don't understand. Like the conversation, the over-analysis with Bogey has been going on for far too long, and I don't like it.
I don't know what to,
What? Over-analysis?
Yes. I brought this up originally with Chuck when he was going after his three-point shooting. I was like,
I just said it was down for the time being, which it was.
You were going hard at Bogey.
Okay, yeah, I was pounding the table.
We pick him for like a back-to-back. You're like, are you sure you want to pick Bogey to be
for
good
2 games
in a row?
2 games. It's a lot of games.
Meanwhile, 24 games.
Wow, some friendly receipt fire happening over here.
Now he's good at shooting. He's still bad at defense. That's how it goes.
He's bad against guys like Jimmy Butler and LeBron. Like,
who is he good against?
How many games? Wait. How many games have we been like, oh man, Bogey got cooked tonight? They were picking on him. It's been like 2 games. The Lakers game.
Yeah,
you're right.
But
he's
not exactly. Yeah, I'm not saying he's not like a stalwart. He's not why we have the 4th best.
He's not. Rating. But the whole this is a real glaring issue. It's like, I got news for you. Yeah, if teams have their best player like a Jimmy Butler or LeBron on Bogey, it's going to be a problem.
Well, it's like the Chris Dunn shooting thing, right? Like no player is perfect, so people are going to say like, "Oh, I hope Chris Dunn can hit his shots," and you're like, "Yeah, I do too. I hope Bogey can play some solid defense."
But it's not. Yeah, I think you're asking. Again, how many games have we come out of and been like, Bogey got cooked tonight on defense?
I know. We said a couple.
Where are all those examples? The examples are 2 guys that, of course, he's going to get cooked by. So, I don't know. I'm not overly worried, but I don't like the soft switching.
Sure. It's not helping a defender like Bogey.
Yeah. It's like, what is the point?
That's the Clippers defense, baby. All right. Anything else about this regular season? Coach of the year for the Clippers. I'm just kidding. Anything else?
Van Gundy deserves a pretty honorable mention.
Well, it's our undefeated coach, Brian Shaw, who's coach of the year.
I mean, honorable mention as well. Like, it's obviously you can't. I mean, obviously Ty should be fine, and we should get some new blood.
Monday, the day after clinching the 5 seed. You know what? What if we took a page out of the Nuggets book? We're about to play them. They're undefeated since the coaching fire.
It's it's obviously tied, but I mean, doesn't it seem like the coaching staff was especially strong this year? Not that it's been like bullshit other years, but it came together in a really good way
this year.
Honestly, one of the best reasons though, or one of the best things about or best parts about the Clippers going on this winning streak is the B. Shaw stuff died down. Real quick.
God. Yeah.
That was getting pretty
That
annoying.
was the craziest. That and the KPJ stuff were the 2 craziest things that a not insignificant amount of Clippers Twitter people were entertaining.
And like Kawhi makes them worse.
Yes, also that. Yeah, the Kawhi makes them worse crowd. All right, that about wraps it up for our regular season thoughts. Let us know your picks. If you invented some awards, let us know at Clippers Pod or at Clippers Podcast on YouTube. Coming up, we're doing a Clippers vs. Nuggets series preview. Game 1, 12:30 p.m. this Saturday. If you're listening to us on audio, there's going to be some audio breaks. So there's some ads coming up in 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back into Clips and Dip. It's over. We've come to the end of the regular season. We just gave you the highlights and a couple of lowlights from that season. But now looking ahead to this first round matchup against the Nuggets, I think, this is probably one of the more favorable of the matchups for what we could have got, for what we were looking at in the standings. That doesn't by any means make it an easy series. But Adam, what are you looking forward to here in this game 1? What is going to be setting the tone for the rest of this
Getting
series?
Denver is definitely the Larry David gif where he's like,
Yeah.
It is. They are flawed. They also have the best player in the league. They're a flawed roster that also happens to have a guy who has won 3 regular season MVPs. It really could be 4, but I think SGA is going to win just because team record is so much better. And he's won a finals MVP in less than 2 years. He's arguably, he said he's playing the best basketball of his career. He said that.
Well, they're still losing games where he puts up a 60-point triple-double. But
yeah, that game kind of exemplifies what he's been dealing with and what can happen with the Denver Nuggets. They haven't been beating very good teams as of late. They won that game against Houston yesterday when we thought,
what the hell was that?
I thought Houston was going to be for real. I thought they were going to play hard in that game.
Dude, yeah.
They said they were playing their guys, and it really wasn't that close. I need to know how good Jamal Murray is with his hamstring because he was playing much better.
That is what I had a haggle, no haggle on here. The Clippers are healthier than the Nuggets coming into this series. The Batum question mark is what gets me.
Need that Batum update, Law.
Because that's huge for the Clips.
But I think I would still go no haggle because Aaron Gordon has been banged up this year. Jamal's been banged up this year. Like, those are 2 of their top 4 guys that have really been hurt. And Jamal, there was a lot of talk at the beginning of the season, like, has he lost 2 steps? Is he no longer the same guy at all?
Losing 2 steps. What a nightmare.
Yeah. He looked pretty slow. But then he started to cook over the last few months. But now he's got a hammy issue. I don't know. If he doesn't have a ton of bursts, a ton of pop, Chris Dunn, that'll make life easier for him guarding him. This is a team that we talked about it a little bit last night, but is their offense good enough to make up for, a pretty poor defensive team that we saw this year? Like, because the Clippers offense with Kawhi is very good.
So that's what's crazy too, is they haven't seen Kawhi all year. 2-2 against the Nuggets in the regular season. They never saw Kawhi. He could have played one of them. It was a back-to-back or something when he was back, but he didn't play that one.
It was the Fires in Southern California that he didn't play. He went back home.
Right. Good for him. But yeah, they haven't seen Kawhi.
Oh yeah. Also, I think, like, from a health perspective, the locker room over there in Denver, maybe it's stabilized, but it seems like it was in a lot of disorder all season long. I mean, that certainly led to Malone's firing, and the team was just unable to get on the same page really on either end of the floor, despite the coaching staff trying to get stuff together. So I do think that's like a factor in health too. I mean, Clippers are coming in with a lot of momentum right now. They're definitely rolling. Things seem good. And while, yes, you absolutely have to worry about the Batum thing, I mean, that completely tanks this team's depth. They're in a really good spot right now. I mean, Denver was like kind of on a little bit of a landslide before getting a couple of wins. I mean, I think they've lost 5 straight. So yeah, kind of different team. So I would no haggle that. I would say the Clippers are the healthier team
with one giant question mark that we'll hopefully get some more news on in the next couple of days. Yeah, the Nuggets, excuse me. There's some small sample size theater here for those of you interested in such things. 3-0 since the coaching change. And in those 3 games, top 5 in points per game, 6th in net rating. So if you love a small theater, this is the place for you. Which, again, I have no idea what to make of that, right? Like,
this is like that third theater in the
that
Vista,
screen,
or in the Los Feliz 3. That's just like a TV with like
I
a
saw
couple
The
of
Shape
couches
of Water
in there.
at that theater, and they're lucky that screen's still there after I saw that movie. Let's just say that. But how about, like, because the small sample size is weird, right? Like, Adam, what do we make of this not new look, because it's the same guys, but they're rotating minutes? Like, that is a bit of a scary question mark too. Looming, I don't know.
Yeah, they're not going to change schemes. A lot of it is just
they're going to go away from Jokic.
Yeah. If you look at on-off numbers with Jokic on the court, off the court, and their offensive rating, they literally go with him off the court from a 104 offensive rating to like a 122 when Jokic is on the floor. They go from worse offensive rating than the 30th team in the league to being the best offensive team when he's on the court. So much of it is just dependent on is Jokic playing and how many minutes, and he saves them. And, I think that's part of the reason Mike Malone got fired. It's like, what are you doing to help the non-Jokic minutes? Is this really just Jokic running this team? For better, for worse, or for fair or not, I think that's part of the reasoning behind what happens. David Adelman's going to still carry on with a lot of the same stuff they were doing, but rotations and lineups could be different. Who he plays and for how many minutes now, because all the talk was Russell Westbrook playing too much was a big point of contention in the locker room, according to that article from The Athletic. I think it was Sam Amick, maybe.
Russ?
The Hyundai dealer?
Does David Adelman find his guys that he likes, that he relies upon? Jalen Pickett supposedly will play more now. I don't know. Peyton Watson, does he play more now? But Russ actually had a really good game yesterday in their win over Houston. So there are more unknowns. I would say, if I had to guess if the firing will help Denver or not, I think it will slightly, just to light a fire underneath guys. And that logic of the reason to do it that late in the season, to try to squeeze whatever juice they have left out of this team in this era by just saying, look, have a sense of urgency out there, because you didn't have that. You weren't playing with maximum effort. And now they might. And that could do a lot, because the guys know now it falls on them. Like, you got rid of the head coach, you got rid of the GM. If you fail, it is going to look like this is on the players completely.
That's a good call. I like that perspective of it.
Well, and we talk about like gamesmanship or like hiding stuff or showing stuff off for the playoffs. Is there anything more dangerous than like a team that you really know almost nothing about? Like they've seen the lineups and stuff in practice, but like we've seen so little of this on the court. Is that an advantage in a way that maybe it wouldn't have been if Malone is still at the helm?
And Jokic is going to play. I mean, he pretty much averages 40 minutes a game in the playoffs. So he's going to play 40, which alleviates a lot of that Jokic on-off numbers time. Adam, you were tweeting this stat out. I've seen it a bunch. Zubac versus Jokic is going to be fun. I don't know if fun is the right word to watch. For the neutral fan, it will be fun to watch. It will be incredibly stressful for everybody else involved with this game. Zubac is the most common primary defender on Jokic over the last 5 years, including playoffs. 69 plays, 47 points, 0.68 points per possession. So he's covered him the most in isolation, and he's had the best points per possession on Jokic.
That was into this season. That does not include the 4 games this year.
He is still Nikola Jokic. He's going to have at least one triple-double in this playoff series. I mean, he probably will. But Zoo has also had his best defensive year. He's had good defensive years before, obviously, This is the best defensive basketball Ivica Zubac's been playing, thankfully heading into an opponent who he's guarded quite a bit.
I kind of agree with Lucas Hand about this. I don't know if Zubac is that different defensively. I think there's better guys around him with Chris Dunn being there and DJ. I think his rim protection has been just about like it has been this year for a while.
All right. Not trying to disrespect Zoo, but it feels good going into this matchup is the main point of this.
I just don't know. It's like Zoo is peaking on defense now, and this is the right time to have him against Jokic. I think it's going to be pretty much the same how it has looked against Jokic with Zoo. I don't think those numbers are going to hold because Jokic is that good. The isolation points per possession stuff. I think it's really going to be a game plan decision. Are they just going to play him straight up with Ivica Zubac and not double at all and say, you got him one-on-one and we're good? And because that's the old not let him be able to do both. Not let him be able to cook you offensively and also get everybody else involved and having those meaty triple doubles.
Yeah, we can't sag off. It's the same battle we had with Luka, right? Every single playoff series. Let him get the triple double. Let him score 65. What's it going to be?
But at least with Jokic, in theory, you may have the best guy in the league to guard him one-on-one. You could say it's Gobert. He's been there at times, but he also got cooked in that one game last year in that series. But they did end up winning the Timberwolves.
That felt like the end of, that was brutal. That was, yeah.
Traditionally, though, the Timberwolves have gotten the best of Denver because they've been able to slow down Jokic, and Gobert is a part of that. But one-on-one ISO defender, you might have the best guy for that. Unlike with Luka, it's like, I don't know who the best guy is for that because he's getting so many screens. It's hard.
Kawhi? Just based on,
Yeah. They'd set so many screens for him, and you match up Hunt so well. If it's in the post against Jokic in a one-on-one situation, I'll take my chances with Ivica Zubac. He's still going to lose a ton of those battles, but, I think the best way to slow down Jokic is to make him work on the other end, obviously.
And the other part that slides with that, too, Will, you and I were kind of talking about this. We have a point of attack guy in Dunn. We have Kawhi at the 4, and then you have Zoo at the 5. So you have 3 guys right there at every part of the court who are pretty elite at defending. And so if we are just doing one-on-one with Zoo versus Jokic, we still have those 2 guys out there making life hell for whatever actions they're trying to do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think that versatility is, what has helped hide some of the, the defensive inadequacies of having multiple guards out there, of being a little bit smaller positionally, with the exception of Ivica Zubac. So maybe that's something that changes in the playoffs. I just don't know that Denver has the personnel to really to really hurt that or alter that or mismatch Hunt to a degree where it would be, significantly worse overall than it was during the regular season.
Yeah, and then the other side of the ball with Zoo is Zoo's going to get doubled. I was trying to find stats on how often the Nuggets send double teams. No one keeps those stats. So
which seems like a great thing for the Clippers.
Yeah, exactly. So against this particular defense,
if you have to throw a double at Zoo, I'm sorry, I just think this is going to be a really long series for Denver.
Yeah, his passing has been phenomenal. I'm not on board with them doubling Zoo, but if they're going to, it's hey, okay, against this particular defense, I feel, I don't know, playoff confident, I guess is how I feel about it.
It's if they dare to double with Aaron Gordon, who should be on Kawhi Leonard a ton, right. Zoo's going to find him. Yeah. I would think there's still going to be times where Jokic is going to take up that challenge of playing him one-on-one.
Oh, yeah.
They have had battles. 3 years ago is when I think Ivica Zubac had his 34-point highest scoring game in a loss. Jokic had 40, but it was a really tight contest. And Zoo was showing off crazy crap in that game, of how good he could be. It was wow, I didn't know he had it in him. This was 3 years ago.
That was a crazy game.
He's always gotten up for Jokic. He also, he's been featured at times because I think even back then they were like, make him work. We have to make Jokic work on the defensive end. And Zubac was doing so then. So I think it has to be the same strategy. The best way to slow down Jokic in his offense is to make him work on defense. And they should try to isolate Zubac against him as much as they can in the post.
Yeah, and run the pick and roll. Make him move around in defense too. Like, make them make decisions. That's more fatigue stuff you got to worry about. Because who's also kind of to the next point, like, it's Braun guarding Harden, Christian Brown. Like,
I think so.
Longer guy for sure. Like, has the reach to do it, but I feel a lot better about Harden and Zoo in a pick and roll than I do about Christian Braun and Nikola Jokic defending that pick and roll.
Yeah.
Long term over the series.
No, that's a good point. Like, people have speculated the reason Harden has a pretty good win percentage head to head against Jokic, and it's a team game and stuff, but he does put him in a lot of actions. He does run that pick and roll to perfection. Is there something to that where there's a cumulative effect as the game goes along? Jokic is just, you can tire him out.
I mean, I think that's true of anybody, though. Like, especially with even someone without.
It would go the other way too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But Jokic in particular is not known for his defense. So
yes, yeah.
Him having to work on the defensive end is like he could be on skates at times.
Yeah, that's a good call. And then Dunn versus Murray. I'm excited for this matchup. A lot hinges on this matchup. The refs, unfortunately, play kind of a large part in how this is going to go for Chris Dunn. Sometimes it gets a little handsy, and the fouls, you're like, can't be doing that this early in the game. But we don't know how. I mean, Murray looked good the other night. Chris Dunn is, ascended to a level of perimeter defense that, due to minutes restrictions, will keep him off the NBA teams. But like, this is going to be a really pivotal part of the game. And I think call me a homer, I like Chris Dunn's chances at making things difficult.
I do like the guys they have to throw at Jamal Murray. Between him and DJ, like, they match up pretty decently against this team, as well as you can for going up against a team with the best player in the NBA. You may have the best guy to guard him. And Jamal Murray, it feels like Chris Dunn's the perfect guy for him.
And on the other side of the ball, last 10 games, Chris Dunn shooting 50% from three. So they're going to leave him open. That is going to happen. Can he hit 35% of his threes or whatever he made good decisions out of the short roll yesterday. He had a couple feeds to Zoo that was nice. Like, a lot also, aside from we need James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, and Ivica Zubac to score and play like they have been, Dunn's decision-making, which has been good for the most part all season, is going to have to continue to be good.
Chris Dunn and his three-point shooting is something that is so pivotal. It makes me feel like if he's hitting threes at a decent enough rate, this Clippers team goes supernova. Like, they are so difficult to beat then. Because they've been getting by plenty of times this season with him not hitting threes.
There was a lot of that, funnily enough.
Where they could still find a way to win. If he's hitting the way he has been, and it's been like this for like a month and a half, where he's been better from the outside, and that was a playoff game yesterday.
Yeah. Friday,
for all
too.
intents and purposes. That was, they've been in the pressure cooker for a while, and he has performed really well. So, and I remember when he was going through the deep funk with his shooting, he said, well, I'm glad to get it out of my system now. And maybe he can kind of be like, it's a new season type of thing,
Will, how are you feeling? Because there's a narrative springing up too that, Aaron Gordon has the size to stay with Kawhi, and he's obviously who they're going to put on Kawhi. I cannot see them putting anybody else on Kawhi Leonard. How are you feeling about Kawhi versus Gordon?
Well, that's a tough matchup. That's incredibly physical. I mean, if people are if people are of the opinion that Kawhi isn't a true power forward and should be at the 3, I think that's that's probably your rallying call is a matchup like that. But I feel confident about it. I think that Kawhi, especially the way that he's moving right now, is going to be a lot better. Going to be a lot better prepared to sort of take advantage of that situation when he can create space. In terms of like posting up and kind of getting to his normal sort of mid-range game, I think. I don't know, some of that stuff. I think he has the physicality, and I actually think being like slightly smaller, it can be an advantage for him. Just the way that he puts his body into guys, it gets you off balance. It kind of gets you, it gets you moving. And a lot of those shots for Kawhi, I mean, unfortunately, didn't end up hitting the game winner last night, but they're so automatic that like I wonder. Does it even matter whose hand or how tall the hand is in your face at a certain point? Like that stuff is just like so drilled into you. It's such a part of your identity. I mean, the bigger thing isn't the shot to me. It's like creating the space. And in my head, I think that he's going to be able to create that space in a one-on-one scenario. Not that it'll be easy. And like like I said, I do expect it to be a really physical matchup for him. On the offensive side of the floor, but I like it. I mean, I like it.
I like what you said about you're more worried about creating the space than if the shot's going to go in. I think that's a great point. And that you also said like one-on-one, because they'll send doubles at Kawhi. We've seen that a little more the season, as the winning streak kept going. Yeah, Adam, how you feeling about the Gordon Leonard?
I've long said I think he's the best defender in the league against Wiggins, Kawhi. I actually pulled a
Wiggins was a good Kawhi guy.
Grant.
Yeah.
Wiggins good, Jeremy Grant. But over the last few years, I pulled a receipt on myself from 2023 earlier saying like this would be such a scary matchup because he's so good on Kawhi, Aaron Gordon. And he is, but I also always say, like what Will was saying, Kawhi looks through defenders. Like it's just about with Kawhi, it's getting to his spot. Can you stop him from getting to his spot? Because once he gets there, he's automatic. Once he gets to his sweet spots on the floor, you get a hand in his face, it doesn't really affect him much. But Aaron Gordon is one of those guys that's quick enough while being that big to stop Kawhi from bullying him, that he can stop him at times from getting to his spot. I know a lot of people have said this season Aaron Gordon's defense hasn't been that good. Yeah. I've seen a lot of that. I didn't feel like that in the games against Denver when he played, but he also, I remember he came back from a calf injury, and his first game back was at Into a Dome, I remember, against the Clippers. We were like, Clippers luck, Aaron Gordon gets healthy against us. And he didn't look great in that game, but he was coming off an injury. I still feel like he's going to be very good on that end. But Kawhi is good enough to handle anybody when he's in his zone. It doesn't really affect him. But in a series on the margins, like if the difference is, Kawhi is no longer shooting 51% from the field, and now he's at 47%, which is still really good, but that's a 4% difference. That could swing a series. Like that could. We'll see. I think I'm interested to see how much the Clippers are matchup hunting out there. And because there are a lot of options. Like, I don't think Christian Brown is a good option for a guy like Kawhi because he can bully him. Obviously, Jamal Murray is going to be out there too. He doesn't want to guard Kawhi. So can he get these switches?
Porter Jr. Well, and so that's another thing that has to comment. I mean, we've just listed 3 guys that are like, okay, yeah, none of these guys want anything to do with Kawhi on the defensive side.
And those are guys that are playing 30+ minutes.
Have to.
And Gordon will also try and wear him out on the offensive end. You know what I mean? Like Gordon will try and put his body into him when he gets the ball, stuff like that. When Gordon is on the offensive end, that's obviously not going to happen very much because that's not who they necessarily want to have the ball in their hands on offense, but that'll be something to check out too. And Jokic leads the league in screen assists, so there's going to be a lot of bumping around for the Clippers.
He finds Gordon as a rim runner in the dunker spot with eyes in the back of his head. That connection's God tier. Gordon has shot 44% from 3 though this season. Is that going to translate? He's had a career year from 3, and he's only played about 50 games because he's been hurt, but he has been lights out from 3. That's what I worry about most, because if Kawhi is guarding him on the other end, which you would think they'd put Kawhi on him a lot, unless late in games they could have him on Jamal Murray at times. But if Kawhi could actually sag off of him and give him some space, that'd be huge for the Clippers. But I don't know if you can do that right now with Aaron Gordon. He's been too automatic from 3.
Is that what have we done that in the past with AG?
I think they have played off of him some. They have given him some of those shots.
Yeah.
Everybody has. He's turned in. I mean, he's a different guy than he was in Orlando, obviously, but this is his year from 3 out of all the decently shooting years. He's had good years, but this is 44% from 3. Like, shit.
I mean, apt. Are we worried? Speaking of 3 points, are we worried the Clippers are going to cool off? They're shooting 42% as a team over the last 10 games, while taking the second fewest in the league during that stretch per game over the last 10 games.
I mean, you can go even further. Like, I've been watching this for a while. 21 games since they're 18-3. They're at 43% from 3 over the last 21 games. That's best in the league. What I worry about most is during that time, teams were only shooting 34% against them from 3. Both those things happening at the same time is worrisome to me.
And Chris Dunn has helped that too a little bit with his just incredible.
Chris Dunn has helped. Nico has helped. Bogey has helped. Kawhi has been shooting like 44% over that time from 3.
We keep talking about Nico, and I keep just craving an update, because bench versus bench, fully healthy bench versus bench. Will, correct me if I'm wrong. The Clippers have a much better bench, right? Like, just.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Feels accurate. But no Nick Batum. I would say the Clippers still have a better bench, but it's not as pretty about you. You got to rely even more on Kawhi, Harden, and Zubac to do whatever they're going to do without Nick Batum there.
I think the main problem is it's not so much like the raw numbers, obviously, with Nico. It's not like he's getting 15 points off the bench or anything like that. But he makes so many different lineups work for you. He's the linchpin to making all these bench lineup work. And that's what worries me, because they had been running that Kawhi, Nico, Ben Simmons, DJ Bogey lineup and having success with that. And that was starting second quarters and fourth quarters over the last couple of weeks. And it had been good for them. And then last night, they just, of course, James Harden never left the game in the second half. He played the rest of the game into overtimes. So he was kind of the replacement with the rest of those guys for Nico Batum. But that's not going to be sustainable, the entire playoffs or even throughout an entire series. Like, Harden can't play every second half, I don't think, every game of the playoffs.
We don't know, but we don't think that.
There will be some where he plays the entire second half, but I don't think he can play the entire second half every game.
Yeah, we're looking at a bench unit of Westbrook, Pickett, Peyton Watson, DeAndre versus Derek Jones Jr., Bogey Batum, and Ben Simmons, who has not played incredibly inspiring basketball to close the season, which I'm hoping that changes too. Because if there's no Nico,
wait, are you just writing off Zeke Naji?
Oh, I guess I must be. Yeah.
Fair enough. I mean, I think
I don't think it is fair enough.
He'll play a lot more backup center than DeAndre. I mean, DeAndre's nearly in the rotation.
Yeah.
How much has Julian Strother been playing? Because coming into the season, a lot of the talk was he's a big X factor for them. But I don't know if that's one of the criticisms of Mike Malone not playing him more.
Here's his last handful of games: 10 minutes, 0 minutes, 11, 11, 1. And then he must have been hurt because he had 5 or 6 games and no minutes at all.
He's kind of on the outs.
Yeah.
And Peyton Watson has been decent for the Nuggets too. He's been, he's solid.
He's
averaging like 9 or 10 against the Clippers in the, again, small sample size that they played.
Has Najee been hurt too?
One of the other guys that guards Kawhi and James Harden at times.
Yeah. Has Najee been hurt too? Because he's effectively stopped playing since April 2nd.
Interesting.
See, this is why it's so weird, because they have a new coach who's like, you know what I mean? There's some interesting question marks in this one. He had an ankle sprain? I don't know.
Unpredictability is not something you love going into a playoff series.
Exactly. Like we played the Mavs 50 years in a row. We said, hey, welcome to the playoff preview. Listen to our one from 2 years ago or our one from last year. Here's what we got to do. The Nuggets are a bit of a wild card, which does give me some pause for this series, because they're a wild card with a guy who can put up 55, 15, and 12.
Right. There is a very well-known, the most important thing they have is very well known.
Yeah. And they have another wild card in Russell Westbrook, who will be playing for either team sometimes during the same game. And the home court advantage is huge for Denver. You got to respect the baller.
Man, if the Rockets won that game yesterday, the Clippers would have had home court.
I know. It's crazy. And how much, I don't know. People were bummed out with Norm yesterday and his recent performances, but
I like the fourth quarter, though. He hit a couple of key shots.
Yeah.
He hit clutch shots late in the second and third quarter, too.
So I was looking this up earlier. The last 2 years in fourth quarters, and this is high volume, as much as you can for a fourth quarter. He is shooting almost 50% from three the last 2 seasons in fourth quarters, Norm.
Can't say he's not clutch.
That's crazy.
Can't say he's not clutch. Oh, this game one is going to be terrifying. It happens on Saturday at 12:30. 2/3 of this podcast will be in the Bay Area celebrating a friend's birthday. So there's probably going to be maybe a pregame hang, and there's going to be for sure a hang on Sunday to talk game 2. Now, the most important segment of the season so far. Who is our player of the game for game 1? And for those of you new to this podcast, which there might be some new listeners, hello. We hope we're representing Clippers fandom well. We are not allowed to pick Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubac, Norman Powell, or James Harden, because those are too obvious and it's too easy. So that's what we do. Adam, you go first.
I'm calling it. I'm going Nico Batum.
Yeah, that's the energy we need.
I'm saying he's playing.
He has to play. He really, Nuggets fans, if you're listening, he is so important to how this Clippers team plays basketball. Like, he really is.
Like, if they didn't have him for this series, winning it would be quite a challenge.
Yeah, I agree.
They need Nico. He's their second best option against Jokic.
Yeah. We haven't even talked about Drew Eubanks yet. Who I was not the only person to think that he was Australian. Just there's proof of that. I thought he was from Australia. Couldn't tell you why. Never even played there. Will, who is your player of the game?
Bogey redemption arc.
Arc it right into the basket.
Yeah. I think our success in this series doesn't hinge on Bogey, obviously, but him having an efficient game, first game out, I think would be really nice.
Yeah.
Just stealing one from Denver, game 1 would feel pretty darn good.
Just got to split. That's all. Like, just split these first 2 games. We're feeling pretty good after that. I'm gonna go. We haven't even talked about this guy that much. Derek Jones Jr.
We haven't talked about him enough.
The athleticism is there. He's another defender who is very comfortable guarding number 1 options. He can guard multiple positions. I'm feeling Derek Jones Jr. Adam, you look quizzical.
That reminded me, that first game against Denver that we spoke of earlier with that Norm crazy fourth quarter. He was on Jokic some, I believe, in the fourth quarter. That Jokic play at the end where he double clutched that 3-pointer,
yeah.
I think DJ put him in that spot. He will see minutes on Jokic here and there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he will be – it's also like There's going to be some starting lineup mix-ups, I think, for the Clippers in this series. Based historically on what we've seen with Ty Lue and how playoff series go, I would be surprised if we see the same starting lineup for the whole thing.
Interesting.
I've been calling my shot all year. I think Nico's going to end up in the starting lineup against certain teams in a playoff series. And one of those teams I said was Denver. But that could mean things are going bad.
Oh, that means we're down 0-2 in some of these scenarios. Absolutely.
But I'd much rather have that than in a must-win situation is PJ in the starting lineup because things are going bad.
Hey, he put up more shots than Paul George did in that second half. Okay, get the bad memories out. Let us know what you think is going to happen over at Clippers Pod on Twitter or at Clippers Podcast at youtube.com. Will, where can fans of the Nuggets who are just joining us for this playoff series leave some friendly reviews for this podcast?
Yeah, you can keep it friendly. You can review this podcast over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can, of course, listen to it wherever you get your podcast. But if you also want to interact with us, you can do that over on youtube.com. That's at Clippers Podcasts. It's every single episode. You subscribe, hit the little bell. You can know when we put out new videos. We'll definitely be live with the playoffs coming up. So yeah, stay tuned for that. But however you listen or watch, we appreciate you.
You absolutely do. Adam, the first playoff edition of this, please give these Clippers fans one positive thing as they get into this week ahead of game one.
Unlike the Denver Nuggets, the Clippers have already won a playoff game, basically,
leading
into this series.
Okay. Hell yeah.
That was
two. Some could even say.
I'd say 8.
People overuse the word epic. That was epic. There's like 4 or 5 Hall of Famers in that game between Golden State and the Clippers. That was incredible. And the week off for Nico Batum to get healthy and get right is much needed. Did we all – I know some people were crazy enough to want to be in the play-in so they could get Houston in the first round, and I'm not even sure if that would be a better matchup than Denver. But did we all collectively – have a sigh of relief just knowing we'd have some time off.
Dude,
you get some time to
God.
decompress, get to relax, calm before the storm.
Yeah, even if you like the Rockets better as a matchup, you have to factor in the rest. You have to factor in the rest thing. You have to win a play-in game. You have a day off, and then the series starts against a much younger, very physical team. Like, it's not a great recipe.
Kawhi was going to go into the game against the Rockets with like 100 minutes played over 3 days or so. He played 47 minutes yesterday. I saw someone critiquing that Kawhi looked a little slow at the end of the game. And I was like, look at the column to the right of their names in the box score, and 47 minutes will do that to you. That was a wonderful positive thing, Adam. Thank you for that. The Clippers are
already.
He's
got to get on that zoo conditioning plan,
Yeah, they need Trez to come be a conditioning coach. All right, that about wraps it up. We might be with you live later on in the week. Here's to a great game one. Here's to the Clippers in 6. Hope everyone has a great week. And as always, let's go Clips.